evening and welcome to Talk Right. I'm your host, Wayne Stennett, and tonight we got a really special show, or I'm hoping we will. Bob Bitchin is going to be joining us. Right now, he was with us just a few minutes ago, and his signal dropped out. He is actually on a 54-foot Hilux yacht off the coast of Maine right now. So he's planning to pop back in, I'm hoping very soon. And in the meantime, we're going to be talking to his narrator, Bradford Rogers, who is the host of How Not to Sail. Nick, why don't you take over for a second, and I'll get some things going here.
So we have been joined by Bob. He is, oh, look at this, beautiful. Bob, why don't you say a few words so that the camera switches to you and people can see what you got going.
A few words.
Okay, pan around again while chatting with us.
Okay.
All righty, there we go. And Bradford, where are you at currently?
I am in sunny Atlanta, but my boat was just in sunny Tampa area, so we were a little concerned. But it's all good.
With with the surge and everything. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you have someone down there that you like go, hey, can you go down to slip 4 and see how?
Yeah, it's nice to have boat neighbors to help out with this stuff.
So where are you anchored right now, Bob?
We're in Somme Sound in Maine. North Desert Island. Mount Desert Island.
That is beautiful. You got the sun going down right there behind you?
Actually, where is it? It's back there.
Oh, way over that mountain.
Way over that mountain.
Yeah.
Bob has a thing for fjords.
Fjord. I drive a Ford and I like a fjord.
Great. So right now you're just working on getting your or you've almost finished, right? Getting your audiobooks done.
I got 11 books and I think only 5 of them have been done so far. So
oh, okay. I thought you were further ahead.
That's because Bradford is a little slower than he should be, but he's cute. We're going to keep him on.
That's what they said in prison.
Yeah. That's where we met. No, just kidding.
So Bradford, tell me, what's it like working for Bob? Because he can.
He doesn't work for me. He works with me. He works with me, not for me.
With you. Okay.
I still call him El Jefe anyway, but that just seems prudent.
The first few weeks, I thought he was saying El Hefty, and I was a little. But
I have to admit, when I did Dorf, which is from Bob's biker Sturgis trip in an old school bus, that I was amusing the friends and family with the readings therefrom, because it was saltier than my stuff even.
Oh yeah. I've read almost all of the books, Bob, and just going back to that lifestyle. I mean, that harkens back to when I was in the Marine Corps in the 70s. I read some of you. I can't say for sure that I've read some of your articles in other magazines, right. But I read every one cover to cover, so I probably did.
You did read my stuff then. Easy Riders, biker lifestyle. Yeah.
That was back in the day.
Back when we were young.
Yeah, we got some great pictures of you from back then in this latest on How Not to Sail, the latest with you, of you being on TV and riding around on bikes and consorting with known
you promised not to use those
known miscreants. Yeah.
Yeah, your TV show. That was really cool. I've been watching that again. It's on YouTube. Just go through.
We did that for 5 years, 2003 till 2008. And we did 65 episodes, and it was syndicated all over the world, which was pretty cool. We really liked that. But that was a lot of fun.
Are there still residuals coming in from that? Is it still being aired somewhere?
Well, actually, we own all of it. So if they play it, if I charge them, normally I don't charge anybody because I just need the publicity, because I need people to buy my books. You know about that, Wayne.
Well, you definitely have the publicity going for you. I mean, you've been around the world, the lifestyle before that. Here's one of the best stories, and tell us about the day that you switched from being a motorcyclist to a sailor.
Oh, it was just we decided instead of going to Mama Rosa's and getting burritos, that we'd go down to this waterfront cafe, Captain Ahab's, because they had better looking waitresses. Oh God, it says my Mac will go to sleep soon unless plugged in, and I'm nowhere near an outlet. So if I die, I'm sorry.
That's one of the pitfalls of remote broadcasting.
Exactly. But where was I? I'm old. I keep forgetting where I am.
You were going to see Captain Ahab's because they had better waitresses.
Yeah, they had better looking waitresses, and we that was down at the waterfront. And we rode our bikes down there, and we walked out the side door instead of the front door, and that was on the marina. And there was a Cal 28, and guy was just putting a sign up for sale. And I thought, I could do that. So I'd never been on a sailboat. I was 32 years old. And I walked out and I said, what do you want for it? And he told me, and I bargained with him, and I bought it. And then I took it out every day to teach myself how to sail, because I didn't want to be embarrassed by, having people see me, or to take lessons. So
Real men don't need instructions.
yeah, me and my editor, Degenerate Jim, we'd get in the boat and we'd take it out. We'd motor out of the harbor, and then we'd set the sails where nobody could see us. And then they had these oil tankers that were nearby that were unloading. So I'd go over and I'd practice pulling up to the 50-foot buoys and parking against them, so I could learn how to park my boat. Yeah, because I don't like to get embarrassed. I mean, look at me. It's embarrassing.
Well, you've actually lost quite a bit of weight, haven't you?
Yeah, a lot of weight. My house burnt down in 2020, and I lost 50 pounds. And I used to weigh close to 400 pounds. I now weigh 260. So I feel much better.
That's a big loss.
Yeah.
And the new ranch home is
all rebuilt. All rebuilt. We're living back up there, and it's beautiful.
Oh man, I'd love to see it sometime.
Well, you're invited. Come on
up. So, Nick, you take over for a minute.
All right. Well, Wayne was telling me a bit of a story, and then he stopped and went, you know what? Let Bob tell this. And before your Mac treats us to an unpleasant power down, I would love to hear. This involved, I guess, a convertible pulling up to you that led to a bodyguard job.
Oh yeah. It was in Hollywood. I was riding my bike down Sunset Boulevard, and I pulled up next to this. It's a Maserati convertible, and the guy's wearing a fur coat. And he says, "Let's take off. Let's go do something. And let's do it." And I'm, yeah, right. So we take off from the light, and he kicked my butt. We get down to the next light, and he says, "Hey, pull into Cyrano's. I want to see your bike." And I'm thinking I can handle him. So okay, we pull into Cyrano's, and he walks over to look at my bike. I walk over to look at his car, and then I noticed the license plate from Montana, evil. And he says, "After dinner, I'm going to be having drinks over at Filthy McNasty's on Sunset." I said, "I'll see you there." And I went to Filthy McNasty's and drank for an hour and a half until he got there. And then that night we stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning, and partied a little bit too much. They arrested the bartender, the bar owner, because they were supposed to close at 2 a.m. And Knievel turns to me and he says, "Would you go get him out of jail?" And I said, "I ain't got no money." And and he said, reaches in his pockets, hands me a wad of bills, and he says, "Just bring me back any change to the Coliseum tomorrow." So I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I head down there and I bail him out. Well, I tried to bail him out, except while I was sitting there to bail him out, a cop walks by and says, "That's a son of a gun right there." And they arrested me for interfering with a peace officer. So I spent the night in jail with Filthy. And then the morning I bailed us both out with Knievel's money and went back to the Coliseum. And that's how I ended up working for Evel Knievel.
That is so much better than I imagined it was going to be. I didn't know any of that.
I cut out the stuff about the strippers from the Classic Cat that were with us. I've cleaned it up.
That saves us some editing.
Yes.
Excellent. What can you tell me about the Latitudes and Attitudes magazine? Because that's just the best name for a magazine I've ever heard in my life.
Well, it was from the man who just passed. We were trying to think of a name for a magazine. I've always done magazines for the last 50, 60 years. And I did motorcycle magazines, basically. I did newspapers, magazines, television, radio. And then when we came back from cruising, I figured let's start a sailing magazine about really sailing. You know, none of this fancy stuff about where you have to the mega yacht. You know, this is for people who find a wrecked boat, fix it up, and go cruising. And we were trying to think of a name of it. So we're going through hundreds of names. And then Buffett was singing Latitudes and Attitudes. And I thought, what a great name, Latitudes and Attitudes. Let's call it that. You know, not knowing about copyrights and such shit. And so we did. And we started at Latitudes and Attitudes. The name of that song, by the way, is Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes. So I didn't take the name of the song. Anyway, the first issue came out and I sent a copy to Buffett's office. And I got a handwritten note, got a handwritten note back from Jimmy Buffett saying, I like the magazine, Jimmy Buffett. And I had that note until our house burnt down in 2020.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost quite a character just a couple of days
Actually,
ago.
we lost two characters 2 days ago. Bill Pinkney, I don't know if you know him. He passed. He was the first black sailor to sail around the world single-handed. He ran the Amistad down to where the old slave traders were, and they did the movie Amistad, and he was the skipper on that boat. And he's just an amazing man. I've worked with him for years, trying to get more inclusivity into sailing, trying to get more diversification. And we'd done a lot of things together, trying to bring more people of color into sailing. And he passed the same day as Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, that's terrible. When somebody goes to the extent, you know, I mean, that's just, it's hard enough to try to draw people into a lifestyle that aren't comfortable. And that goes a long way.
It looks like my computer may die shortly. So if I disappear, it's not personal.
Okay, before you go,
I'm not going to sign off, but when it goes black, it means my computer.
Before it dies, that's a perfect lead in to your boat. And that your boat was the basis for a boat that I created in my books.
Really?
Dog. And it's the exact same boat. I took measurements from the video, man.
I sue for copyright infringement? No, okay.
But tell us about your boat.
The Lost Soul, I found it, it had been abandoned and it was sinking in Hawaii. It went down to where the engine was underwater. It was $1 million boat. I bought it for $100,000 as a wreck. I worked on it for a year and put about $50,000 into it because I did not have any money. And then I sailed it around the world for 10 years with Jody, kidnapped my bartender. And because you want to have a bartender, a masseuse, and a cook. And Jody was all three. So I ended up marrying her at the end of the trip.
And she's still serving in those positions today, right?
She's downstairs sleeping in the forward cabin right now.
So what else we got? Oh, I bet I need to jump over to YouTube and see if we've got questions over there.
Oh, definitely. I wanted to ask, I understand you were on a beat up old Greenpeace ship for a bit.
I learned how to sail on the flagship for Greenpeace in the 70s. And it was the Stone Witch. And we sailed to Guatemala, sailed for 3 months, and it changed my life. It saved my life, because I was in the motorcycle world. I was very into drugs, very into violence. And sailing is exactly the opposite of that. It was so mellow, you don't want to do drugs. And there's no such thing as violence out there unless you find a pirate you want to beat up. So basically, it saved my life. I'm 80 years old, and I never planned to live past 35. So this has all been bonus years.
That's amazing. Now, when you were on, did did the Stone Witch do any Greenpeace kind of stuff? Did you have
Oh
any?
yeah, it was blockading Diablo Canyon when they were building a nuclear plant there, and they were going to seize the boat. And then a friend of mine was crew on it, and I was just learning how to sail. I'd only had my boat about 3 weeks when that happened, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, we need $8,000 to take this boat out of the country because you're going to seize it." And I said, "Cool, can I go?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Can my girlfriend go?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, come pick me up. We're gone." And they came down, and I had some money. I gave it to them, and we got on the boat. And for 3 months, we sailed to Guatemala, which stopped doing drugs, got out of the violent lifestyle. While we were about halfway down, I had to go cover an event because I was doing Biker Magazine back then. And so I had to go to Daytona for Motorcycle Week. So I flew out of Mazatlan. And when I came back, I had brought some of the illicit stuff with me. And I realized as I was laying there on the bow of the boat and we're sailing out of Mazatlan and the dolphins are going like that. And I threw the drugs overboard and I stopped doing drugs. And I'm sure that saved my life.
Oh, absolutely. And how old were you then?
32, 33.
So all these extra years.
Oh yeah.
And look at what you've done with them.
Nobody's more surprised than me and my mother.
I feel like we have to acknowledge, though, that did not end Bob's run-ins with the FBI.
No, I would get my boat seized. I sailed to Hawaii once. They seized my boat because I was a known associate of the Hells Angels. And they seized my boat and took almost 3 months to get it released from seizure after they tore teak off the decks looking for drugs. And I mean, we didn't have any, but they were sure looking. And they never apologized. And I had to pay them $1,500 to release the seizure, even though there was nothing found.
And then pay for all the repairs to put the teak back down.
Of course.
I always wondered about that whenever I watch these detective shows on TV. They impound a car and start taking the seats out and taking the seats apart and taking the tires off the wheels and all.
Who puts it back together?
Do they put it back together if they don't find it?
It's your job. It's your job.
That's just not right.
It teaches me to look like I look, you know. If I was clean shaven, well, I notice none of us are. But
No, go ahead.
no, I'm through. You go.
Well, one of the other things that really caught my eye, the magazine for the tattoo lifestyle, that's your baby, right? You created Tattoo Magazine?
Yes. I started Biker Magazine in 79, and I started Tattoo Magazine in 1980 because they didn't have one for tattoos, and I'm rather covered with tattoos. So,
Oh, wow.
So a friend of mine who was a tattoo artist out of Chicago, he said, you need to do a magazine about tattoos. And we had a section in Biker Magazine called Tattoo Flash. They would have pictures of tattoos, usually on women, not wearing much clothes. But we did have pictures of tattoos. And I said, okay, I'll try it. I did a one-off, and which means you just one time, and it was not scheduled. And it sold great, and advertising was good. And I'm like, well, let's do this quarterly. So we started doing it every 3 months. And then after the second one, I said, let's go biannual. I mean, let's go 6 times a year. And we did that for the next issue. And then I said, we're going monthly because it just sold so much better than the motorcycle magazine. I didn't realize more people had tattoos than rode Harleys.
Well, not everybody that rides Harleys has a tattoo.
Not everybody, but where I came up with the idea for the magazine was in Sturgis one year, and I'm sitting on Main Street and I'm just watching everybody that walks by, and everybody that walks by has a tattoo. Most of them just said FTW.
Yeah.
And so that's the name of my company, FTW Publishing. That's been the name of it for 40 years.
My brother got an FTW tattoo. He was about 18, 19 years old. Mom asked him what it meant. Instantly, he said, forget the weather. We're going sailing. Forget the weather.
No, my Jody came up with the saying, find the wind.
Find the wind. There you go. I like that.
Yeah, especially because FTW Publishing started publishing biker magazine, tattoo magazine, and magazines like that. And then we went sailing, and we come back, and it was still FTW Publishing. It was an old company. You want to keep it going, and that's when Jody came up with, it means find the wind. I said, okay, that's what you think. It's cool.
Absolutely. I'm not seeing any questions on. Oh, wait a minute. Here's one.
Nobody has any interest.
This is actually a really good question, and Bob, you're the only person I could think of to answer. Are there a lot of print magazines anymore? Are most digital at this point?
Well, the reason I sold Latitudes and Attitudes is because the internet was killing the magazine industry. And when I started Latitudes and Attitudes, it was from here. It had nothing to do with making money. I just wanted to have because I was so tired of magazines just having ads with stories about how to use the crap from the ad. I mean, that just annoyed the hell out of me. I wanted to know what it was like cruising out there. So when I started Lats and Ads, every story in it was a cruising story, period. That's all we did. Stories from people who were cruising around the world. It ended up being the #1 selling boating magazine in the United States. And I ran it for 27 years. And then I decided, you know what? The internet's killing the industry. I think I'll sell it. So I sold it. And I still write for it. And I enjoy writing for it. I mean, sailing is still my life. So is riding motorcycles. So I can't ride a motorcycle on a boat. I tried it. It does not work. You just splash and
You
it's
just
gone.
haven't got a big enough boat yet.
Well, actually, when over here in Maine, we found a couple we could. I mean, there's some big boats over here.
Well, you actually sold Latitudes and Attitudes twice.
Yeah, I sold it about 12 years ago to a couple of con men because I've always done business handshake. And these guys came to me and they made me a good offer. I said, okay, we shook hands. I signed the contract. Then I found out they were con men and they had no money. They never paid me a dime, but they owned the magazine because I signed the contract. They owned the television show, they owned the radio station, and they owned the magazine. But they owed me a few $1 million, never paid me. And I would have to sue them to get the money. They had no money. They were con men. So we lost it. But then Charlie Tobias, who owned Pussers in the BVIs, he was a good friend of mine, and he was kind of my mentor. And he's 10 years older than me. And he is the one that got me back the name Latitudes and Attitudes. He just had his lawyer go get it. He gave it to me. He paid the fees and everything, so I would have it. And then we were back as Latitudes and Attitudes. And those guys got arrested in Chicago and spent a lot of time there.
Then during the interim time, you created a new magazine, Cruising Outpost.
Cruising Outpost, right? Because
And
they had
that was done. You didn't even want to do that. That your fans did that.
Yes. Oh yeah. It was, everybody was like, where's the magazine? Where's the magazine? Where's the magazine? And there was also the fact that I didn't have any money. I've never had a lot of money. I just like to do things. And I didn't have the money to do any of that. But my fans all came in. And that was the most amazing thing. I had 750 of my readers send me $250 each. That some people said, I had one guy in Boston that said he would finance a new magazine for $250,000. And I said, at that time, I'm 70 something years old. I can't pay back $250,000. I wouldn't take it. So then the same people, they came back, we were all on the internet and we're talking about, well, what would be fair? $250, a maximum of $250. Anybody who wants to do that, if we get enough in to start the new magazine back up again as Cruising Outpost, we'll start it. If not, we'll give you back your $250. And if it works, you'll get a 5-year subscription. $50 a year is pretty good. Anyway, and long story short, we did it.
Yeah, that's just a great testimony to what you were doing at the time.
Yeah. You know what? I still miss the magazine, even though I'm still working for it. I like to make the decisions, and now I'm not making any decisions. I just send in my stories, and like I'm doing a story about this trip, and I still do a column every issue, and they seem to be doing pretty well with it. So, yeah, life is good.
Yeah, I read that column every month or every quarter.
Every quarter, they're going bi-monthly now, so
Oh, okay. They increased it.
they're going to. They have not yet. They're going to start with, I think, the next issue.
Have you ever considered you've got Bradford here with this marvelous microphone, and he's doing your books. Have you considered doing some of the stories from the magazines as sort of a podcast where people would be able to listen to as many as they want?
Be honest with you, I don't even know what a podcast is. I mean, I've done a couple with Bradford.
He does one.
No, I've done a couple with him. Yeah, he's good. But I don't even know. I wouldn't know how to start. My granddaughter, she's an Emmy award-winning NBC anchor. She has been trying to help me now. She just put me onto Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and some other crap that I have to. She makes me make a post every day, or at least every other day, and that just started about 3 weeks ago. But she stayed with me for a week. Like every day, she's like, "Now, Grandpa, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this."
Well, you can stay up late one night and write a whole bunch of them and schedule them. You don't have to do it the rest of the week.
I don't do those drugs anymore.
Well, Brad, what's it like to read Bob's stuff? You find yourself shocked by some of the things that come out of your mouth?
No, because I used to be a musician too. But okay. I'm not. Thought I was muted myself again. Yeah. So some of those type of things I may have know about, not officially, but yeah. But it's good to hear that somebody's gone like times 10.
I'll tell you what, Bradford has been such a help to me. I can't tell you your help, man. I just want you to know that.
And that's not just psychology. Psychologists help either.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to get a discount.
But I will say that Bob's going to be amazed when he hears this latest podcast of mine that he was on, that he's going to say, Bradford's saying all the stuff that I did. And he just ripped off half of it, and he's doing a voiceover. But I wanted to take and keep this ping pong thing going on, so it'll be a surprise.
Right. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, Bradford, you're planning to be at the NINC conference later this month, right?
Yeah, and I'm officially I need to go check on my boat, but unofficially I need to visit with you guys.
How far is the marina from Tradewinds Resort? You know where that's at?
Is that in St. Pete Beach or?
Yeah, it's right on the beach.
So
it's across from the dive bar. It's down the road from Krabby Bill's.
Yeah, I've never been in dive bar, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess it's about 3 miles from the marina in a direct line.
I'll show you, Bradford. I'll show you.
Okay.
Well, we can send somebody over to pick you up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'd be good to get together again.
My waitress has brought me a new one.
Thank you, Admiral.
My waitress is eating dinner. So before I die, let me show you where we are, because this place is just unbelievable. This is I got to show you across. This is where I want to have my next house, right there.
Mm.
Wow.
I mean, look at that. Is that beautiful or what? So.
And I bet it's a little bit cooler up there than it is down here in the south.
Nice boat too. I think I may be dying soon. So
There's a lot of.
We actually made it. It's 7:03.
Yeah, we made it. We made it to the end of the show, but we're going to keep on going until Bob's battery.
I got to recharge.
There's a lot of granite around there to anchor upon, though, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes, you can't believe how much granite there is here. We went up to Washington Mountain. No, Washington. Yeah, Washington, and that was unbelievable. Of course, I had a hip operation a little while back and had my hip replaced. and walking is not the easiest thing in the world for me right now. And we walked about 5 miles. So today I'm sitting a lot.
Mhm.
How long of recovery was that for a hip replacement? A
It
friend
was
of mine.
supposed to be 6 weeks. It's been 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was on my back for 3 months and I lost a lot of my strength. I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it was supposed to heal up in 6 weeks, and 6 months later, I was still in bed. And I've been a weightlifter and a bodybuilder most of my life, and not working out for 3-4 months has almost killed me. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
it might
believe me.
almost killed me. But
Believe me, I know. My foot is in a boot right now. I'm recovering from Achilles tendon surgery.
yeah.
I've lost 1.25 inches in my calf.
Jeez.
That equates to about 3 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And if I didn't work out the other parts of my body, I'd be shriveled up to nothing almost.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was just doing, upper body, because it's all I could do. But I was literally in bed for 3 months. So you kind of lose your stamina.
You had Jody bring the barbell in and hold it over your.
Now, when you're laying in bed, you don't want the barbell. Just give me another drink. I'll be fine.
You want to start with the 12-ounce curls, 16-ounce curls.
As soon as I get this mosquito off my drink, I'll join you.
Let's see.
I can highly recommend tequila, by the way.
Well, we are just about, well, we're overtime now. So unless you have something else, Nick, I think your microphone's muted.
I just lost volume.
No, Nick has his mic muted.
Sorry, I'm trying to be good so I don't like cough. Yeah, no, I went through the things that amazed me, and that evil one was better than I expected.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you want to sign off with the story about the difference between an
adventure
and an adventure.
Attitude.
This is my favorite story, Bob Bitchin's story of all time.
I forgot it. What is it?
Sailing through Hawaii and laying the mast down.
Oh yeah, the big wave. Yeah, Jody and I were alone on the boat for the first time in months, because we always had crew with us when we were down in the South Pacific. Our boat was 68 feet, so it was a little bit too big for 2 people, but the 2 of us normally could handle it. But you know, when you're out there. So our crew had left, and that was just Jody and I, and we wanted to get to the big island, and we were in our favorite harbor, which is Lono Harbor in Molokai. Molokai? Come on, Bob. Molokini. Molokai. Yeah, it was Molokai. And so we sailed over behind Haleakala on Maui, which is what you pointing at? Pointing at the drink?
I'm trying to not say anything until Jordy to close the door because the dog's barking.
Okay. Anyway, so we took off early at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh dear.
No.
Well,
Wayne, you know this story. Can you?
One of the greatest adventures of all time. Only Bob could do it justice. But
I'm very familiar with it.
Oh, well, give it to us, because
go ahead.
I feel like you haven't had enough
You have a
airtime.
much better announcer voice.
Well, I don't know, but he said it's the Ali Nui Haha channel that they were going to go through. I guess it's between Molokai and Maui or somewhere. And he said the Ali Nui Haha is Hawaiian for to crumple up and throw out. I'm not sure if I believe that, but they were able to wait for the wind or not, and then they decided to go for it, and there were 35-foot waves or whatever in the channel, which to me sounds like a lot. And he said at one point he realized that the sail was luffing, and he said, that's weird. The only thing that could make that happen was an 80-foot wave. So Jody was down below. Bob grabbed onto the large ship's wheel. He had mounted there, and basically they went sideways and probably thought they're going to die, and but did a nice tube right over them, and they popped back up, and he's like, "Jody, this is awesome. You got to check this out." And she's like, "Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, you talking about there, Bob?" And he said that's when he decided, came up with the phrase, attitude is a difference between an ordeal and an adventure. And he said that's when Jody came up with the phrase, sometimes it's just an ordeal. But what I was really hoping when I asked about the FBI, he seems to always forget the one I've narrated like twice now, which is in Mexico, when they grabbed him and took him to this roach-infested prison in the central Mexico or Central America somewhere, because they thought he was a fugitive that he wasn't, and his 578 tattoos didn't match the person they were trying to catch. So they finally let him out.
Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and close the show down. Thank you for being on with us, Bradford. And Bob, when you watch the replay later on, thank you for being on. We had a great time. It's always great when I get to talk to Bob again. And he's quite a character. I could sit and listen to his stories for hours, and he could tell the stories for hours. So thank you for being on with us. And thanks to our sponsors, Down Island Publishing, Aurora Publicity, How Not to Sail, and Pirate Radio, and who am I forgetting, Nick?
Tropical Authors?
Tropical Authors, of course. Thanks again, Bradford. Good night, everybody.
See you guys soon.
And
There
we're
we
under live.